What's it like being a Jamaican living in Jordan? Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, the founder of Jamaicans.com. And today in Jamaicans to the World, I talk to Sanola Daley, a Jamaican who has lived in Jordan. Sanola, how are you?
I'm good, good. Marhaba. Nice to see you.
Mahava, I'm learning the language already. And what language is that?
That's a little bit of Arabic that I've picked up. It means hi.
All right, wonderful. So, which part of Jamaica are you from?
I am born and raised in Kingston, Jamaica.
Okay. And which school are you representing?
So I know everybody picks up their high school, so I will do that. I'll start there, the Immaculate Conception High School. I'm actually in Jamaica this week for the reunion of our class of 1998, 25th anniversary of our reunion. But I also want to give shout out to VAS Prep. I think prep schools don't get enough credit for starting you off on your journey. And because of VAS Prep, I fell in love with the world and I fell in love with traveling. So I'll give Fast Prep some shout out too.
Okay. All right. So, teacher, do you remember a teacher at, it could be any other schools, VAS or Immaculate, that really inspired you?
Definitely. Sister Mary Catherine from Immaculate was my high school, well, seventh grade and a little bit of eighth grade Spanish teacher. And this lady just had a love for languages, a love for the world, a love for history, how you connected them. And she really inspired me to just be very curious. I was excellent at Spanish, and it's because of her. And I just got really curious about the world. So, one of the first places I actually ever went to, I did study abroad in Spain 20 years ago. And one of the places I went to, I got to Spain, got off the plane. We went on a weekend to visit this little town called Avila. And there were Franciscan sisters walking by. And I just felt like, yes, Sister Mary Catherine, you did it, right? You did. You inspired me very far. So, yes, definitely Sister Mary Catherine on the Spanish and the
All right.
curiosity of the world. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. How many languages do you speak?
Huh. Well, I speak Spanish fluently. I
Okay.
speak a little bit of Portuguese. I understand French a little
Okay.
bit. I can't answer anybody. And yeah, I'll call it those two. I'll say French, Spanish, Portuguese, but definitely Spanish.
All right. All right. I didn't pay enough attention the first couple of years and I regret it in high school in Spanish.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling.
So,
Yeah.
Jordan, tell us your journey to Jordan.
Sure. So I work for the World Bank Group. I'm in the private sector side that works, the International Finance Organization that works with private sector. And I work on gender equality in the private sector. So I help clients look at how we can either create more jobs for women around the world or create workplaces that have more work-life balance and better policies for both men and women. So flexible work arrangements and things like that to help people live better, more fulfilling lives at work. And I run a global program at the International Finance Organization. And they offered me the opportunity to do what is called a development assignment, where I go 1 year abroad to one of our offices there and I work from there. And I get to know the region a little bit more and I get to meet clients in that area. I get to meet more colleagues in that area. And so that's what I'm doing in Jordan. I'm there for a year and it's been a really great experience so far.
All right. So, Jordan is on. I'm going to get back to Jordan. It sounds like you've been to some other exotic, maybe interesting places. Can you name like a couple of the other places that you have done this?
Sure. So I've lived in Puerto Rico, but as a teacher, and I've lived in Costa Rica. I lived in Costa Rica for 4 years, also doing similar work in sustainable business and gender equality. So I did that for 4 years before I went back to the U.S. where I'm based. And I've also traveled. I think I've been to 41 countries now, most of them because of
Oh,
work. So I'll name you a couple. I've been to Kenya, I've been to Bangladesh, I've been to Vietnam, I've been to South Africa. Cape Town is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. I went this year. I've also been to visit Lebanon. I've been to most of South America, minus two or three countries, Panama. So yes, I've traveled quite a bit for
So,
work.
folks, you know who to talk to. As you see the painting in the back, well cultured. So I know she knows in terms of food and so forth. I know who I'll be going to for some of these spots. so,
Definitely. Time.
so Jordan, tell us a little bit about the people in Jordan.
Jordan is a really fascinating country. So I don't know if I'm learning a lot more about the Middle East. Again, I know Latin America really well, Africa and some other continents, right? But the Middle East I didn't know that much about. And Jordan is very fascinating because it's this calm country in the middle of so much turmoil. It's on the border of Israel and Palestine. It's bordering Syria. It's bordering Saudi Arabia. I think it has a tiny border with Iraq. So there are all these different places going on with so much. And Jordan is this calm, beautiful country in the middle of all of that. A lot of most of the Jordanians are descended from the Bedouins. So if you go back to, again, seventh grade geography class, the Bedouins, yes. So a lot of the Jordanians are descended from the Bedouins. There are still Bedouin nomad tribes in Jordan that you will see moving around with their tents and they have pickup truck now. But yes, their tents and their pickup trucks and their animals. So you'll see them around. But a lot of, especially in Amman, the capital, a lot of the
Mhm.
population is of Palestinian descent. Many Palestinians left in the 40s when Israel was being formed. And so there are a lot of business people, leaders, regular people on the street whose parents or grandparents are Palestinian, and then many of them who are actually born in Palestine as well, who are growing up in Jordan, and they strongly identify as Palestinian. So it's a very interesting cultural mix of mostly Jordanians, some Palestinians, and then other folks from around the Middle East are there as well.
So engaging like the people themselves, friendly. Do you find, hey, you're a black woman, and from the West, and you're here in the Middle East. What's the reception you typically get? And I'll get to the Jamaican part in a minute, but what's the typical reception and how you're greeted and so on?
Sure. No, people are very friendly. So in the Jordanian culture and in a lot of the Arab culture, you have to be welcoming. And so people teach their children that very early. So as soon as you say hello and people can tell you're not from there, they'll say, "Hi, where are you from?" And then you tell them and they say, "Welcome to Jordan." And even little children passing you on the street who don't speak any English, the one thing they can say in English is "Welcome to Jordan." So people are very friendly, they're very welcoming. They're kind of quiet and reserved, but in general, in conversation with people, they're very kind, they're very helpful. As long as you can try to kind of ask them a question or what you need, they will try to help you. But they're
Nice.
very kind. And yeah, I don't feel any. I've been to many places where I feel strange. I
Right.
think I don't feel strange in Jordan. I feel like I don't stick out. Yes, there's one or two places you'll go, and especially kids, they'll look at you, or sometimes people who are not from the bigger city will look at you, but not in a way that feels menacing or that you're odd. They're just very curious. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So the Jamaican partner, when you say I am from Jamaica or I'm Jamaican, what is the typical response?
So the people who watch the Olympics all know Usain Bolt. So you get Usain, occasionally you get Shelly Ann, right? But a lot of people know Usain, so that's great. A lot of the older people know Bob Marley. So then you get either people singing One Love. I was in actually my mom and my aunts and a cousin came to visit me in Jordan 2 months ago, and we were in an Uber going home. Young man, so probably in his 30s, late 20s, and he heard we were from Jamaica. And let me tell you, this Uber driver put on Chronics, him put on coffee, and Bob Marley. And my auntie was like, wait. So we felt very at home. So things like that. People who know. And then you get the occasional folks who are not sure where Jamaica is. So some will actually ask you, and then some will just assume it's in Africa. So I'll say I'm Jamaican, and somebody says, "Yes, I have a friend from Senegal," and you're like, "Oh, kind of far, but okay," things like that. So, but yeah, so some people think you're in Africa, but most people have an idea, and they want to go to the Caribbean. They've never been. It's so far, but how beautiful, things like that.
Nice, nice. In terms of music itself, again, different cultures. Hear loud. You won't hear music on every corner like you hear,
Yeah.
in Jamaica, right? Which is, I'm not saying a bad thing. Jamaica just has a vibe with
Yes.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
you can't. There's nowhere else. You go to places and it's silent. But Jordan, what's the typical music people are listening to on the radio when you jump in your Uber? What are they playing?
Sure. Jordanians and Jordanians share a lot of music and music culture with the rest of the Arab world. So there are songs there that are popular that are Egyptian. There are songs there that are popular that are Lebanese. And so I don't know the difference, right? My coworkers are the ones who tell me this, but there's a lot of um, it's like pop, but their version of pop, or soul, but their version of soul music. So it has bagpipes. I don't know why bagpipes. I didn't do my homework. Bagpipes are historically very popular in Jordan. It's traditional music. I don't know why, but you will hear even pop music with that, with the bagpipe sound, and then the typical Middle Eastern sounds, but it's pop songs or love songs. So you hear that, and then these guys really do like their music. So if there's any celebration, or so Ramadan, any Eid, you will hear music. And our apartment is overlooking downtown, and so Amman is on Seven Hills, very similar to Rome, and constructed around those seven hills. So we're on one of those hills overlooking downtown, and then looking across at another hill, and so the sounds carry. And so you can, somebody will be having a party very far away, and we can still hear the music. So Thursday night, which is their Friday night, some Saturdays, the Jordanian independence, the Crown Prince got married, big party everywhere. So they really like the World Cup finals, big party everywhere. People just driving around, playing music, having fun. So they're like us in that sense as well.
So, from a cultural perspective, have you encountered something that you find very interesting? Maybe you've gone to a wedding, and the wedding ritual. It could be how you meet people in business. It could be anything unique, interesting that you found culturally there in Jordan.
Sure. There's a lot of little interesting nuances. Some of them are from the religion, and then some of them are from culture. So when we just got there, one of the things that I had to kind of get used to is that because of the conservatism of some Muslims, women and men are not allowed to touch. So I would put my hand out to shake somebody's hand, and if depending on the setting, especially on the street, they would not take it. They would do like this. So
Mm,
to when I'm speaking, especially to somebody I don't know or to a man, I will, this is my handshake. So I'll, or my thank you, or my acknowledgement. So that I had to adjust to quite quickly. um Other than that, I haven't been to a wedding yet. We got to watch a royal wedding, which was really interesting because the only other royal weddings I'd seen were the British ones. So it's very
right.
interesting to be in a very small country with a monarchy and a whole different set of dynamics, and to see even the current prince and princess of England basically not be at the front of the line when they're the ones as guests at that wedding. So that was just interesting. Some interesting things there. The princess did get married to a Greek guy, and he had to take on a Muslim name, and I believe he converted as well. So just interesting that again, the power and the cultural dynamics of the region, fascinating to watch. And then
Nice.
just with coworkers and stuff, they're just all very receptive. People like to welcome you home and to have like big lunches and big gatherings. And so I really appreciate the culture and organization around food. The
That,
thing I've not yet gotten used to in the Middle East is the shisha smoking. The what's that called? The water pipes.
mhm.
That's another communal activity. Then they get them with flavors and stuff, and everybody likes to drink tea and and smoke water pipes. I'm not into that, but it's interesting to watch. So yeah.
Well, you touched on the next topic I was going to get into, which is food.
Yes, definitely.
So let's start this way. What's one of the foods that you have tried in Jordan and you would recommend because you like it? We're gonna go with what you like.
Yeah, sure. So I've learned this also the hard way from having my Jamaican family visits. I think everyone should try the mixed grill or lamb at least once. They're because they're herding and shepherding people. They've got really, really good lamb. So if you're a meat eater, try the lamb chops, anything with lamb. I'm not a big fan of mansaf, which is their national dish, so that's a little controversial. It's basically leg of lamb, but cooked in with rice and almonds, which all sounds good. But then they put yogurt on it, so the salty thing doesn't really do it for me. But anything else they do with lamb, I'm here for it. And
All
then the
right.
other thing that I really like is their dessert. Their national dessert is called kunafe. Love that. It's this type of cheese with honey and pistachio, and it's like baked, and it's really, really good. It's cloying, but it's really good. And so you get a little piece and just taste that, and you're good for like 2 weeks. But it's really good. And I also love their sweets. They do a lot of candy, and that's a very Middle Eastern thing. They have a lot of pistachio and chocolate-based nuts and other little candies. Those are really, really, really addictive. Um, be careful. And they put
All
rose in
right.
other things. They put rose in tea. They put rose in cake. They put rose in coffee. I love rose. Yeah. So yes, as you can tell, I've been eating quite a bit.
So I'm gonna back up a little bit because your hairstyle, you're wearing locks. Is that something that people ask about? You're in Jordan. Is there a hairstylist there that you have found? Is there a community there? Maybe that you can lean on to get your hair done and so forth. So I know that's multiple questions, people asking about it, people trying to touch it, and then where do you get to take care of it?
Sure. No, great, great questions. So on I'll start with the people touching because that's the easiest one. Um, People have asked me about my hair, but there's a couple of things around that as well. Usually one or two people who would love to try it, and this happens regardless of which country I'm in. Folks who would want to try it and they wonder if their hair could do it, and then you have to explain, how the curls will help the locks actually stay in place and grow. So, I get those questions. But one of the things this is one of the few places where people don't actually try to touch my hair. Because again, of the Muslim culture, there are a lot of women who wear hijab, and even when you walk past the typical hair salons, you won't be able to look inside because they frosted over the glass, because they don't want anybody walking by and seeing the women getting their hair done. So people, because of that, people tend to be very respectful about hair. So nobody tries to touch you, and they wouldn't try to touch your hair. Maybe kids would try, but even then, everybody's very respectful again because around the hair culture and the Muslim conservatism around hair. So that's usually why I think my hair hasn't been touched and pulled yet. And then in Jordan, one of the things I worried about actually when I was getting this assignment was whether or not I'd be able to get my hair done. Because you know me, I live in Washington, D.C. Normally, I've been going to the same guy who's done my hair for like 11, 12 years. And he's the one who started my locks, so I'm very loyal to him. So I had a minor panic attack when I thought about moving. And so one of the first things I did was go on Instagram and try to find if there were any natural hairstylists or locticians in Jordan, and with the expectation that I wouldn't see any. And I found one lady, she is from Liberia, and she is there and she does my hair. It's not looking so great right now because I'm getting it done here because, for Big Up Just Natural, I'm going there tomorrow. I saved myself for them. But I really am blessed to have found her. She does a lot of other African women's hair, a lot of other Black American women's hair as well. So I'm sure there are a few more salons, but I found her and I was happy with her, so I stayed with her. So that's been a
Okay.
blessing. Yeah.
What was it? Where is she from again?
Liberia.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
which is okay. Okay, all right.
So yeah,
So
and Liberia is obviously in West Africa,
right.
and she has family in other parts of West Africa. So she goes and gets here from other countries as well, and comes back to Jordan with it. So yeah, she's a real entrepreneur, you know.
Cost of living, what is it like there?
It's so the Jordanian dinar is stronger than the US dollar. So that's an interesting dynamic. So some things that you wouldn't think should be expensive are a little bit expensive. Some certain products are a little bit expensive, and especially if they're imported, because again they're mostly a landlocked country. They have a tiny sliver of coastline, but they're mostly landlocked, so there's some import duties on things. Fruits and vegetables and anything like locally grown, very cheap. I mean, you can go and buy a lot of vegetables for $5, a lot, like a week's worth for $5. So that's really good. But if you want, for example, alcohol is not it's haram in Muslim tradition. There are Christian Jordanians that, for example, run bars and restaurants that have alcohol. There are two wineries there that produce local alcohol. But as a result of that, and again because of the import, alcohol is quite expensive. So again, it's really what you're looking for. But certain things can be expensive, but fruits and veggies very cheap.
All right. Now, are you seeing, we may call a fruit this in Jamaica, and, in Jordan, they may call, have you come up on anything that you say, oh, naseberry? And they're like, no, that's not naseberry. That is whatever, whatever.
Yes. I would not venture to pronounce anything.
Okay.
That's the first
Okay.
thing. Wouldn't venture to pronounce it, but I see them in the supermarket. So a lot of the things that most of the things we have, they have, and then I've seen one or two things that look like naseberry, and I've seen they have pomegranate, which again, very
You
happy.
have to pronounce the name. That's fine. We're good.
Yeah,
We know.
they have pomegranate. It's in everything. They have a pomegranate and orange juice. Heaven. So yes, things like that are there. I saw something that looked like sweet sap one time, but it was far away when I was driving. But yes, there are definitely a lot of similarities on fruits and veggies. They have bananas, avocado, everything. A lot of the things we eat here. But the and I've seen some sort of cherry thing that don't look like isn't Barbadian cherry, but it looks like a close cousin. But I haven't figured out what that is yet. But
All right. So, in terms of the place, the historic, there's a lot of history. There's a lot of, I don't want to use the term attractions, but if there's one place that you'd say, Xavier, if you visit Jordan, I'd recommend that you go to this place. Or it could be an event that you saw that was just so magnificent. Okay, I mean, I don't expect a wedding to happen every year, a royal wedding, but it may be some type of celebration. She says, Xavier, listen, that was an awesome event. If you can come this time of the year, so it could be either a place or an event, or maybe it's as simple as the sunsets are the most amazing. What would that recommend be to me who is visiting?
You're trying to get me to give you one, and there's like five that
Okay,
I'm
all right.
going to say.
So
So
can we agree? Let's do two or three. If you could do
sure.
them,
I'll do the top two, and then I'll tell you also go here. Petra. It is a little overhyped, but it is well worth the hype. This ancient city of Petra, they call it the Rose City. It's an ancient Nabatean, like 2,000 years before Christ, city that was carved out of mountainsides. It's gorgeous. It's beyond words. Like you have to go there and see it. It's beyond words. Oprah was there earlier this year. So was Salma Hayek. I think I was there the same day as Salma Hayek and walked past her and never even see her. The place is that amazing. So highly recommend. The second place, which is close by, is Wadi Rum. Wadi Rum is where they shot, I think, scenes from the Martian movie. It is complete desert with just cliffs everywhere. It's one of those places where if you never go anywhere else in the world, going to Wadi Rum and just spending the night. It's amazing. It's just peace in your life, reflection, gorgeous beauty. It's breathtaking. I also recommend Jerash, which is a Roman city that is very well intact considering how long ago it was destroyed. Highly recommend. And the Dead Sea.
Okay.
Relaxing, curative, peaceful.
So
Yeah.
have you floated in the Dead Sea?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Twice now. Twice now. It is the most amazing experience. Your brain is like, what's going on here? It don't make no sense.
Sanola, listen, I really appreciate you spending some time telling us and audience about your experience and your story in Jordan. Now, I'm winding down. What is that thing that you love doing there? It could be simple as I like, and if you have downtime, and I'm really talking about downtime, or the weekend, and you say, listen, this is what I do on the weekend. I basically, maybe it's a coffee shop you go hang out at in the morning. Maybe you find that the strip, it's landlocked. Maybe you go head out there. Or what's that thing that you love doing that you find your peace, your comfort, either on a day off or on the weekend there in Jordan?
Sure. So actually, I like to explore, and I'm there with my husband. I should say that, and he's American, but he's also lived overseas a lot, and he's an explorer as well. So every weekend we pick somewhere else, and a different city, a different town, a different parts of the country, and we just go and try to absorb as much of that as we can. So we've been hiking in the forest in Jordan. So yes, they have a little forest there, forest reserve going up north. We've been to another town that's like historical. So we just like to explore. We pick somewhere and we just go there. And that is our downtime. It's like getting an Uber, go to another side of the country, walk around, just walk. Love walking and trying things. So yeah, that's our thing.
This is why the information you're giving is so great, because it sounds like you're actually living and discovering parts of the country that the typical person would never do.
Yeah. I have a history of doing that. When I lived in Costa Rica, Costa Ricans would ask me for directions to places. Even now, they'll message me and ask me directions to places. Yeah.
Amazing. All right. So this scenario, you're actually living it because you're visiting in Jamaica right now. So here's a scenario. You land in Jamaica. You get off the plane.
Yes.
What's that first thing that you did or you typically do when you get to Jamaica?
Honestly, breathe in the humidity. There's something about the heat that lick you when you reach airport, and you're just like, yes, I'm here. But other than that, I go and eat. So
so what's the food you're going? The food you're craving.
There's a really good jerk center in Discovery Bay. So my family moved to Discovery Bay. That's where my mom's from. So they moved back right before the pandemic, actually. So there is that. So to go to a jerk center there and get food, and it's really good. So we'll do that. Sometimes, depending on what time I actually arrive, we might go and get a patty because can't beat a good patty. And the one thing I'm looking to that I haven't done yet is going to Devon House to get the curry goat patty. If you have not had this curry goat patty yet, you are missing a part of your life. So yes, I'll be doing that on the weekend.
All right. Closing, one word of advice you give to people who are thinking of either moving to Jordan, and you've lived in many places, or living abroad for a time. What's that one piece of advice you'd give to them?
Definitely keep an open mind. I think sometimes things are not what they seem. People surprise you. Things that you don't expect are really possible where you're going. One of the things, especially with Jordan, that I appreciate it, because like I said, I was a little bit nervous about being a Black person in the Middle East, and coming out of the US with all of what's going on there. I was just very nervous about that. And I went there, and the first day we got there, so the first morning we got up and went to this center that is a government center that has nature and preserves, and they tell you where you can go and touristy things. And the young lady that was at the reception was a teenager, and she was Black. And she just looked at me and smiled. The very first person I met in Jordan outside of the hotel. And so I was surprised, and I felt so at home already. because then I saw that there were also a lot of refugees in Jordan, and a lot of them were from African countries, and they're, you know, they're getting great education and they're getting opportunity. And I've seen a couple around my neighborhood, and I did not expect that walking in the door. So just keep an open mind. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what's going to happen. And there's a great quote from the Alchemist book where they say the universe is conspiring to help you. That's how I feel. Keep an open mind. The universe is conspiring to help you.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. How do you say goodbye in the most informal way in Jordan?
So you can say Marsalama.
Marsalama. All right.
Perfect.
Thanks again. Thanks again. And Marsalama.
Perfect. Marsalama.
Show some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.